Good morning, students, and I welcome all of you again to the English class for classes 10th, and it's day 6. And today we are going to take up our third chapter, that is the first flight. So here you can see a seagull, a perfectionist in the category of birds as far as flying, diving, swimming is concerned. It's a versatile bird. So, in this particular chapter, we will be dealing with a bird who doesn't have confidence and wishes to go against nature. Now, by this I mean that a bird is meant to fly, but this little seagull is not able to have that confidence, is not able to gather or build up that confidence in itself, right? So that it might be able to fly high like its siblings were doing. The parents keep on pestering it, scolding it, reprimanding it, but this particular seagull, the baby seagull, is so adamant that it says, "No, I cannot do it." It has the strongest wings as compared to the siblings, and even the width and the breadth of the wings is far much more better than the siblings, but still it lacks the confidence to identify its own potential. Now, many of us are always on the, let's say, a kind of the list wherein we feel that we cannot do something. We have enlisted something or the other that is in our conscience or our subconscious that we will not be able to do anything or something about a matter that bothers us so much. For example, for many of us, science and maths happens to be pretty complex, difficult subjects to speak in a layman's or a common man's language. But if we try from the very scratch, if we are consistent in our work, if we apply the logic, then God has given everybody a brain that is equal to each other. There is no discrepancy that God has made as far as knowledge or wisdom is imparted to human beings. But the condition is that we need to apply that particular brain or logic of ours to understand our hidden potential. Many of us may not be good in studies, but many are good at dance. They are brilliant artists. They have loads and loads of hobbies lined up. But the problem is that we do not realize how much capable we are in doing a particular task. And in that rat race of competing with each other, we tend to forget what was the aim of our running in that rat race. Here, the same thing happens with this little seagull baby, the bird. The parents are boosting the morale, the siblings are requesting the seagull to fly because it is meant to fly, not to get stuck in one particular nest where it took birth. But the seagull doesn't wish to fly at all because it lacks the confidence, the ability to realize that it can do wonders provided the very first step is taken by this bird. Now, parents can boost your morale, they can give you all the facilities in life, they can give you all the necessities of life that you require to study and become good human being, good citizens of the society. But it is you who have to take that first step to write your exam or your test, to test your ability, to test where you stand. Now, in the same manner, when we read this particular summary and an introduction of the seagull, this particular chapter, the first flight or his first flight, we are going to know the actual message that the writer wishes to convey to its readers. Now, this is an introduction, and we have Liam O'Harty, who is the writer of this particular chapter. Now, in this particular chapter, he has talked about a young seagull who is afraid of flying. It feels that its wings are not strong enough to make it fly. How he overcomes the fear which all of us face while trying a new venture, and the story of a successful maiden means first maiden flight. has been beautifully narrated in this particular lesson that you'll be reading in the text. Now, here, when we go to the particular summary, we realize that the only problem with the seagull is not that it is physically handicapped, it has some ailment, it is sick, it is weak, but the problem lies in the mind, right? It's all in the mind, as the old age or ancient saying goes. It just had a notion, a kind of a superstitious belief that its wings will not support him. They will not support it, right? The siblings, the other sisters and brothers of the seagull are flying, the parents are flying, they're enjoying a great flight in the sky, they are going against the wind, they are diving in the water, just having good amount of fish to eat, and they're enjoying to the core. But this seagull is deprived of all the enjoyment only and only because of one reason, and that is not having faith in its own being or its own self. He could not gather the courage to fly as his siblings did. He was punished to stay hungry if he did not try. Right? It's right. So, what happened? The mother was so particular and she wanted to train this baby seagull so very perfectly that at times, like our parents, generally when we are disobedient, when we are against their wishes, or when we do not listen to them, we generally are reprimanded. We are scolded at school by our teachers for not listening to them or disrespecting them, as well as at home. But if a child takes this particular scolding or reprimanding in a very positive way, he might turn out to be a diamond out of a coal mine. It was his mother that compelled him to fly by using food as a trap, as a bait. Now, the seagull was told by its mother that if you do not come where we are, that is, you need to fly at a stretch to come to the entire family that was having a party, catching fish from the water and eating it and enjoying. The mother told the particular seagull, you will not be getting food that particular day. If you do not fly, if you do not come down to us, flew down to us, you will not be getting any food that particular day. So now the seagull is very hungry. Its hunger pangs are just there inside it. It is wriggling with pain. It is wreathing. It is not able to understand what needs to be done, and the courage he cannot gather to take its first flight. The lesson reflects how one hesitates to take the first step, and that fear is all in the mind. As I'm already telling, I was just talking about in the previous sentences. One should trust one's abilities to achieve one's aim. Now, a quick summary. The story His First Flight by Liam O'Flaherty is about a young seagull who is afraid to fly. It cannot, but it is afraid. Just like mathematics and science, they are like ghosts for many of the children, right? Wherein children are afraid not of the teacher, but of the subject, right? There are many kids who have those examination phobias and they suffer a lot of nausea and dizziness and all kinds of physical ailments come across the moment there's a science or a maths examination. All his younger siblings flew fearlessly, while he could not gather the courage to trust his own wings, his own abilities. A very strong message is conveyed. It must be a kind of a fable for you or a moral story for you, but when it comes down to the kind of the lesson of this particular chapter, we realize that it is more than a fable, more than a moral story. It talks about you and me, how we feel, feeling afraid of not realizing how much potential we possess. And that is what it is all about. The young seagull became sad when he saw his parents helping his younger siblings in the art of flying, right? Till you do not take the first step, nobody is going to support you. A person, let's say your friend, your colleague, your parents, your relatives can support you up to a certain extent. But what I said was they can help you in giving you education and imparting you knowledge and helping you complete your homework and your classwork, making you learn the text. But when it comes to giving the exam, they will not write the paper for you. It is you who have to think, remember, recall, and write. So, in the same manner, when the parents came to know that this particular seagull is not willing to, not able to, that is a different fact, is not willing to take that first flight, that first step, they left it at its own mercy. It was not that they had ignored or abandoned it, but they actually wanted to teach it a lesson. Now, the parents were busy helping the others who had taken their first flight. They were just trying to perfectionize, or let's say, make the flight perfect. His parents scold and taunt him for not even trying. They even call him a coward. They threaten him to leave him alone and hungry if he does not try to fly. The following day, he is left in isolation, completely lonely. Nobody there to take care of him. And upon feeling hungry, he tries to seek the attention of his family members. Only his mother, who is withering a fish in an attempt to eat it, notices her son. Now, the father is busy with the siblings. The mother is seeing this particular seagull trying to come to the verge or the edge of the hill, and again going back, again trying and going back. So the mother is just keeping an eye, a watch on her baby. And from a far distance, she holds a tiny piece of fish, goes towards the cliff where the seagull was, and while it was there, it was flying towards it, but suddenly the mother stopped in between. There was a gap. The mother did not come and feed the baby, telling it, okay, fine, you no problems. Because if the mother would have done it at that moment, the seagull would have not been able to learn how to fly. So that particular scolding, that particular strong step, stern step, a parent, a teacher has to take, so that a student or a child is able to understand that it is initially important for him or her to take that very first step towards its future. The young seagull cries out of starvation, very hungry, hoping his mother would help. On seeing his mother come to him with a fish, he gets excited. He feels, okay, nobody is taking care of me. At least my mommy is going to be there to feed me. But on noticing that his mother stopped midway in between, he gets annoyed, very angry, and takes a dive at the fish, forgetting for a moment that he is afraid to fly. Now, the starvation was so strong, the hunger was so strong that made this particular seagull to take a dive. It could not fly, but it took a dive, and finally the wings were able to support it, and it came back into the sky, into the air where its mother was. Finally, he took his first flight. All the family members celebrate his victory by cheering and dancing around him. He also attempts at floating in the sea that he was once afraid of. Thus, he overcame his fear and realizes that it's all in the mind. Now, just see the contrast. The parents ignore, the siblings ignore, they are threatening this little seagull, they are taunting at him, they are making fun of it, they are just telling it, we are going to isolate you, let you go alone, we will not talk to you, we will not feed you. But the moment the seagull takes its first flight, they are cheering, they are happy on the seagull's victory, right? Your parents scold you for not studying, but when the results are out, they are the most tensed people, more than you would be tense about result. They are tense thinking what the future holds for you. Will you be getting a good grade? Are you going to get another class? Will you be able to manage to take another stream of your choice? And the list is endless. So this particular story tells us, instead of feeling bad or annoyed about a correction that has been done to you, or that has been done in your work or in your life or in your character, it is better to understand and analyze what is the backdrop or the background of that particular reprimanding or the particular scolding, so that you, as students, when you grow up to become responsible citizens of society, you'll be able to understand that that particular reprimanding led you to take your first step towards a successful future and career. Thank you.